Using Reinforcement Effectively by Katie Rowe and Sarah Safar. The first step in using reinforcement is by operationally defining what the behavior is. So this means that you have to define the behavior in specific and concrete terms so that everyone knows what the behavior is. The second step is making sure that all of your students can, in one way or another, earn reinforcement for academic progress and also appropriate behaviors they show, whether it's in a classroom setting or anywhere else. It is the best way to equally enforce and not inconsider equally deserving students. The third step for using reinforcement effectively is by using extrinsic reinforcers only when you see that the desired behavior is not occurring. It is not always necessary to reinforce every good action your student makes because many extrinsic reinforcements actually lose their effectiveness when used repeatedly. However, intrinsic reinforcement is always the best reinforcers because reinforcement is done internally. So in other words, it is something we do ourselves. A couple examples would be volunteering at your local animal shelter and or volunteering at a soup kitchen. Intrinsic reinforcers are more meaningful for the individual. The fourth step in using reinforcement effectively is by determining whether particular reinforcers are actually reinforcing for students. Every student is motivated differently, and every student has different desires and needs, and that is what actually influences the effectiveness of the reinforcers you are using in class. The only way if you know if something is a reinforcer is only when it results in your behavior. So it has to have an effect on your behavior. So are M&Ms a reinforcer? Well, it all depends on their behavior. If their behavior increases, the M&Ms are working. If their behavior decreases, the M&Ms are not working. There are different ways of identifying reinforcers, such as asking them what are the things they want. Another way is by watching the things they are doing in their free time. Another interesting way that I learned in my behavior modification class is using a reinforcement questionnaire, which is basically a survey. A survey is good because not everyone will give you a straight up answer. Sometimes it's easier looking through the list. The fifth step in using reinforcement effectively is when the students know exactly the specific behaviors and what their consequences are. Students generally respond appropriately when they are told the consequence of the behaviors they present. A good example the book gave us is the quietest group will be the first to get in line for recess. This is a good example because it tells us that in order to be first in line, you have to be quiet. Here, the students know that if I present this behavior, I will get this in return. A great way of communicating a great response is by giving the student a contingency contract, which basically the student and teacher meet and discuss the desired behaviors the student will have to demonstrate in class. In the end, the student and teacher signs the contract. This method is effective in improving both academic and social behaviors in class. Step 6 in using reinforcement effectively is if you want to encourage the same behavior in a group of students, you have to consider using a group contingency. In other words, your students will only be reinforced if the entire class achieves or behaves appropriately. Group contingencies are effective in improving both academic and behaviors only if everyone in the class has the ability of making the same desired responses the teacher wants. Step 7 is you have to monitor the student's progress. You have to know the baseline, which is the rate of the behavior. In other words, where is the person now before an intervention is made? Step 8. It is best to consistently reinforce the student until the desired behavior occurs at a desired rate. The responses increase more when you are consistent. A term for this is continuous reinforcement. Step 9 is, once the behavior is accomplished, it is best to wean students from extrinsic reinforcement. Once the student or students have achieved the desired behavior, it is best to slowly pull away from extrinsic reinforcement.